how do you want to do it?
You can just go ahead and introduce yourself right away.
Okay. Hi, we are on. I'm Laura. I am here for Tarot Talk. This is a new experience for me to be doing it online, which I'm very excited about. I have Price May here with me, which I'm also very excited about. A little background on me. I spent 14 years in the film industry. I learned how to make projects, both from like very small to like very big projects that ended up on Netflix and Disney. I've always had a passion for story, and I think with that, that's also been my draw to tarot. I feel tarot is a way in which we can explore the different stories and myths of our lives. Even within tarot, whether you're looking at the major arcana or you're looking at the different suits, or even just looking at a spread, there's usually a story there that we can dive into that speaks to our lives, but also it'll speak to the collective. I find often when I'm giving readings, there's a lot of times when I feel like even though the reading's for another person, I feel like the reading is also for me. And I'm kind of like, okay, universe, are you talking to me right now with this? So it is very cool that like not only is tarot a form of storytelling, but it's a way that can speak beyond just the individual that's having the reading done. Christ May, do you have any questions?
While waiting for other people to get in, maybe I can just. Is it okay to have like a general reading just for the rest of the week for tarot?
What do you mean?
Mm.
Oh yeah, like just doing, you just want to have like a general reading. You don't, would you like one yourself? Or you're like, no reading for you, just do a general reading of
Uh,
like what's coming
Maybe
up.
for me,
Okay, for you. All right. I'm gonna do a past, present, future for you. And then I can also do, when I'm finished with this one for you, I can also do kind of like a collective reading just to see what's coming up. Okay, let's see. Oh, we have Rolly.
and we. Hi, Rolly, and we do have Lucian and Lisa on the website.
I
If you're
have
watching, Lisa and Lucy, if you have any questions for Laura, just put it in the comments below, and we'll get back with you.
Rolly, I appreciate you coming on. I'm going to do a quick reading for Christ May, and then maybe we can have a chat about tarot a little bit. Ooh, and I have some cards. I love it when they kind of flip over. I know you probably couldn't see, but like as I was shuffling, two cards just came right out. That's usually a favorite thing of mine because I feel like it's the universe communicating that there is something that's trying to come out. So I'm doing a past, present, future for Christ May. So I'm going to show you the cards, but I'm going to sit with them first. I like to just see what the energy is that's coming up. I mean, it just looking at it, it feels like a very positive reading. I'm going to show you your past. So you have in the past, you have the Nine of Cups in reverse. I read reversals, not everyone does. I personally just like the extra bit of information that comes with them. But I also read reversals in a way that's like the reversal can represent many things. So for you, Christ May, in your past, the Nine of Cups to me, what kind of comes up, and especially with it being in reverse, like the Nine of Cups is this sense of like um contentment, but also like everything emotionally and with your relationships is working out. And so with the reversal, there's a sense of like in your past, you might have had like not everything, not all your ducks were in a row. Like not everything was kind of smooth sailing in terms of your relationships. In your present, you have the Five of Pentacles in reverse. I always prefer seeing this card in reverse because usually the Five of Pentacles upright has to do with usually has to do with like hardship or scarcity, but especially around money or around health. So in the present position, it shows that like you have gotten out of a difficult situation. So if you had experienced hardship in the past, and perhaps if it was influenced by your relationships, you are no longer in that situation. You have moved beyond it. And I would say that there's a sense of both like you are in a better place financially, but also, or like you're starting to come out of you're starting to come out of the clouds a little bit with it, but and with that, there is a sense of like you're also able to get your home life together. Like because you're able to move, because you've been able to move through this difficult hardship, it's also allowing you to kind of get settled within your home life. You also, in the future, it's a very positive card. You have the star. So that means that there's a lot of hope with the star. It's also there's an aspect of like recovery and healing. So if there has been a difficult journey in the past, not, I think the signs are here that are kind of saying like whatever was happening, you are moving through it and like the recovery is on its way. Like it's already started, but the recovery is happening. And like before you is a very positive journey. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Laura. That really resonated, especially
Yeah.
yeah, the three cards. I mean, I'm really looking forward for the future, but the two cards really resonated with me. So thank you so much. Um, Rolly, would you like to have a reading?
Sure, that would be cool.
Also, I'll do a reading for you, but Rolly, I also feel like I'd love to talk to the extent that we can, because it is tarot talk.
Yep. Yep.
I'd love to also like talk about like have a little bit of a conversation about it too, in terms of like what tarot can represent. And I'm curious, like I'm gonna shuffle, but I'd love to hear just your thoughts on um, this type of mechanism for seeking answers and healing. Are there any kind of like thoughts that kind of come to mind to you from your own experience?
So for me, using decks or using and we'll stick with decks, but like using the different types of things are about being able to really tap into our own selves, right? So like it's um um because we already have the answers within us. So while you're shuffling and I'm talking and I'm whatever it is that's going on, and so even with Christ May, like she's like, oh, that resonated for me. And but it's because your I don't know what other people call, so like your soul is talking to Christ May's soul, and so it's already moving that energy through to let you know what it is that she already knows. So and a lot of times it's that push that we sometimes need, or it's that reminder sometimes of what it is. So like when we pull when we do tarot pulls with each other in my groups, it's like people get answers of things that they already know. And so we have one lady in particular in our group that for 2 years, every single message that she would get, and I shouldn't say every single because it was probably not every, but
Yeah.
it would be that like smack, like, hey, we've already told you this. Hey, we've already told you this. Right. So like for her, it was about really tapping into the energy that's already there, that she already has, and in that intuitive self, because we talk a lot about intuition and really tapping into who you are. And she's like, yeah, I don't really have any intuition. Yeah, I don't really have any intuition. But then she would actually point out the intuitive things that she would know about you. So like you're in the group, she's talking to you, and she would have like this wise intuition about like have you thought about this? Or, this is kind of
Right.
like what's coming up for me, or whatever. Like, so it would be really and really interesting. But then for herself, it was like, yeah, I have no intuition. I have no intuition. And so after her brother died, um, she had she was sitting there and she had like this nudge of like, you need to go down to the water, like right now. Like she was outside working, and she's like only lives like 4 blocks away from the water, and she's like, I needed to go down to the water. And she's like, so I just went and took some pictures, and she shared the pictures with us and that kind of thing. But then what ended up happening is, while we were pulling cards, it was talking about the water and the connections that
Mm,
she had
mm-hmm,
to some to
mm-hmm,
a spirit that had moved on. And
mm-hmm.
because it was her brother providing her that message, because she was actually doing she took her brother's shoes, and because he had like these humongous feet, and so it was like this like top piece and whatever. So she was actually setting all that up when she got the nudge to go and take pictures of the water. So her brother had told her
That's
that she
so
needed to go down
interesting.
and and take pictures, right? So like, but then the cards came back and said like, hey, this is what's going on. And
Right.
so we were able to point out to her that she actually listened to her intuition, and by
Ah,
listening to her
yeah.
intuition,
Mm-hmm.
she was able to get confirmation
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
what it is that was going on and why, right? So
Yeah.
it's
I love
uh,
that.
like I always, and it's different things. Like it's never any, like at least my experience has never been anything specific. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm very type A. I have learned to like not be so type A, but I still am. And
Yeah.
so I still am. So I'm not saying that's gone away, but I've learned to like kind of like let things like, okay, no, this is whatever. So then, so the card, like when I first started with cards, I would be like going back and like reading every single word in the book. Right. So I
Oh,
would pull the
yeah.
book out,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? I'd pull the book out, and it's like, okay, so the three of wands says that blah blah blah. And if it's inverted, then it's blah blah blah. And so then it's like, and then I was like, and then try and make sense of like every single word out
Right.
of the book. And it's like,
Right.
that's not the way that it works.
Yeah.
Because it's like piggybacking, right?
Yeah.
So it took a long time to be able to do that. And so, but yeah, so it's been, um, so I use them a lot. So, um, yeah, I usually use them a lot. And
Yeah.
it's that clarification. I already know what it is, or sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm kind of stuck on like, because my brain is like, so
Yeah.
my ego has taken over, and it's like deciding like, oh, I need to do A, B, and C. And then the cards come back and say, you're like so off your path, but it's not even
I
right.
know.
And then it's like, okay, so what are you telling me that for? And then you just kind of take a step back and let things flow out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, look at that. I am supposed to be on
Yeah.
this path. I'm not supposed to be over here anymore. I'm supposed to be over, right? So yeah, it's
I
kind of
love
like,
that. Yeah, I love
right.
all of
So
that because I feel like you touched on a couple of things that are really important. And I think one of them, the way I look at cards, because so often people talk about like prediction or fortune telling, and I'm not going to take that away from people who do feel that. But for me, when it's just about reading energy. And kind of to your point, a lot of times what is coming up is just reflecting things that are already in us. And it's just helping either offer validation or offer clarity. I also joke too that the cards never lie. It may not be what we want to hear, and we might have to like take a step back to be like, okay, what is this telling me, and can I process this? But I do find it really interesting that it is a form of like, it's often validating people. And I think it's a way of helping us nurture that relationship with our intuition. Um, Even if it is repeatedly getting the same thing. I've had that happen where I felt like, and it was funny because I went to different people. I participated in a Mystic Day recently where they have like 6 different readers. And it was funny because none of the readers knew what anyone else had said. But in all of the readings, I had like one card that would like come up and it was all speaking to the same thing. And I was like, okay, universe, like, fine, I'm paying attention. And
Yeah.
so it is really, I appreciate your story with that because I think, like I said, so often there's a fear, there's a fear with ideas around tarot, especially when it comes to things like fortune telling or prediction. And to me, I'm like, we're just reading energy. And energy is also constantly changing. So it's like, even if you get a card in a future position that you don't love, we can ask questions around that and kind of, see, is there something we can shift there, or how do we better get through it? Um,
And
Go
yeah,
ahead.
so like and like just to kind of add to that part of like and sometimes like that future is not
Hmm.
necessarily like now, right? Like it's not necessarily
Right.
in years from now or like those kinds of things. And so that's one of the things that I find really interesting as well. And um like I can't go into the situation specifically, but like I know that for me, there's one tarot person locally that we had that I would go to her like once a year or whatever, maybe a couple of times a year, like every couple of years or whatever. And there was that one piece of things that kept coming back up again that it was like, okay, like I don't see it. Like that didn't come up. Like you brought this up in this card.
Mm-hmm.
It was in my
Yeah.
future thing. And then it was supposed to happen and I wish that I still had my written piece of paper because this particular person would write down like little things. So
Hmm.
and so then but like so she would have like, okay, so like um something to do with May or something to do with whatever month or whatever. And so so I don't know if I can find my papers and if I can because things have been packed up so I don't even know if they exist anymore. But but one of the things is that it like the situation that I'm in currently is really seeming to tie into a lot of
Mm.
the little things that she had said. And it's kind of like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, okay. And then, but now just things seem to be like, oh, and so I wish that I had those papers that could actually go
Yeah.
back to validate some of the things that she had said and to see whether or
Mm-hmm.
not like, and that's one of the, like that hindsight part is really interesting to me as well.
Yeah.
Because I love that being able to like validate the things that had actually have happened that you've been because
Yeah.
we don't always count our small blessings, right? And
Right.
so it's like,
Yep.
oh yeah, look at that happened. Oh, look at that happened. And so yeah, so like that's the other thing too is like that validating because you were talking about validating and it's like even like 10 years from now is might be when it's like, oh, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's why that particular thing happened to me that that rock
Yeah.
fell
Like
on top
why
of my
that
head
was
from
yeah.
the
Yeah.
ceiling from the sky, right? So like it fell from the sky.
Yeah.
But it's just like so yeah, so like that like so that
Yeah, the
validation is
timeline
something.
and the I think that's an interesting point too, that like our like what is coming up is not always in the immediate. It's like, even with like the past position, I will often look at that past position. It could be something recent past, it could be something far in the past, or it could be something leaving. Like it depends
Yeah.
on what it is with each person. And I often will look at that and be like, okay, like it's not like everything is immediate. Like you do have a present card, but even then it's like, you look at the cards around it to see like what it's kind of speaking to.
But your
I did
present
pull
isn't necessarily in this immediate either. Like it isn't so like that present could be like 2 months from now or like a year from now, right? So it's still
right,
part of that.
especially depending on what you're dealing with. Like because
Yeah.
even within the different suits, and the major arcana. Like if you have a major arcana card, that is dealing with big life change. So that's not something you're going to move through quickly. So like for example, the Wheel of Fortune is a major arcana card, and that has come up for me repeatedly. And so has the Fool, and the Fool's been in reverse a lot for me. And so, but it's fascinating because I'm like, oh, this makes sense because I'm not quickly moving through that energy. That energy is here. In some regards, it's been here a while, but it's not in the past, but it's not in the future. It's kind of like there's that aspect of it. But even with the different suits, like Pentacles are usually a little bit slower to get through, whereas the swords represent air, and so they can be a lot faster. So it is kind of interesting, this sense of like timing with everything.
Yeah, I love that. And
I did pull three cards for you.
okay,
I did a past, present, future. I'm gonna sit with it just for a moment because, like I said, I look at the cards, but I like to just feel like what comes up with them. Um, so in your past, you got the Six of Pentacles. The first word that kind of came to mind for me was generosity. I think that's something that people often talk about with this card. I also this card I was journaling through it the other day. This card kind of like the card bothers me because generosity is tied to this very rich man like to choosing to kind of like give money, but he's also ignoring someone here. And so, there's a part of me that's like, if, how did that rich man get his money and why are we dependent on him for generosity? But
yeah,
that's neither here nor there. I think that like there is a sense though of generosity and the idea of being open to it. And I'm saying this in terms of your past. Like, I feel like you have been both in a position where you have needed to receive, but you have also been a major giver. Like, Pentacles are also has to do with the home. Like it's ha money and it's job, work, and but it's like the material realm, and so it can have to do with health and it has to do with home. And there's like a feeling around it. There's a little bit with like income and money, but there's a feeling around it with the home. And where there's a sense of like you have had to give in a big way, but you've also had to learn how to receive. And there's been like, if you look at the card, he's also holding scales. But there's like a balance of that where a lot of times I feel like the Six of Pentacles speaks to this balance between like there's a natural giving and a receiving. But what's interesting is that the way it reads for me, like the energy that is coming up, is that there is something within you, and I don't necessarily know what that is, but there has been an aspect of you where you have both had to be the provider or the one giving, but you have also had to be receiving. Now, you may have not, in terms of what you were receiving, may not be in the traditional sense. It might have been like something that you had to receive, but there's a feeling of like perhaps you were resistant to it or it was new for you to receive, but there was like, I don't know, there's a sense of that there. Um, I'm gonna keep going unless there's anything that comes up for you.
there
You
is,
good
but
for see what
I
else
want
comes
to see
up?
where it goes because I want to know whether or not this is what I'm interpreting. And
Okay.
yeah, so like, and if this is what I was interpreting and the next cards tell me different, then I will share, like I'll share that
Okay,
so
yeah,
that
yeah, go
you
with that.
understand that. Yeah, so
Okay, so in your present position, you have the Five of Swords in reverse. So with the Five of Swords, and even like with the reversal, let me sit with it for just a second. My eyes are kind of drawn towards the clouds. So with this card, and especially with the reversal, like a lot of times the Five of Swords can represent a victory, but it's that idea of like winning, but winning comes at a cost. And so, and that's not always a bad thing. That can be a bad thing. That's not always that, but that's also not always a bad thing because you weed things out. With the reversal, like I feel, and with the clouds, I feel a sense of caution. Like there is, like maybe there's like a word of caution in that, like uh, not everything that you are preparing to lose should be lost. Like whatever you are doing in terms of, and swords also has to do with the mind and communication. So it could also be like being conscious of how you are navigating dialogue and communication, to be careful of like not not like winning a victory at any cost, not like severing a tie with someone that you or in regards to something that in hindsight you might look back on and be like, oh, I really wish I would have handled that differently. I'm not sure if that makes any sense, but there's like a sense of like um, caution of um, being mindful of your words and the sword, the sword can be very sharp. And so while there are times that like we it's okay to win at no cost, there's a sense of caution here of like make sure that you just be cautious with that. That's the present. Future is Four of Swords and also in reverse. It's interesting because your past speaks to pentacles, but your present and your future is really in the mind and in the thoughts, even beliefs. The four in reverse, I look at that as, let me see. It's funny because it's like I don't know if I was saying this before when you were on, but like with reversals, to me they can mean a multitude of things. Um, and the feeling of this one is like there's a sense of resistance of like there might be something that you need to sit with and like get quiet with and in terms of and this is in the future position but there's like a little bit of a resistance to it and I would say that like I guess it's bringing awareness to that. Like it's funny because both of the present and the future cards, there's like just a like a sense of caution, and it's funny because it both has to do with like the mind and thinking and beliefs, but also communication. But I feel like the Four of Swords is very it is often about like studying or going within, like taking our time with things. And with the reversal, like I said, there's like an energy there that like you might you might have a desire to kind of jump into something or rush through it, but like don't be afraid to take your time with it. Don't be afraid to like make sure that you are taking your time with the things that you need to. I know you've talked about you've been working on curriculum.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if it has to do with that, but there is a sense of like not rushing it.
Okay. So how I'm interpreting this is like, so it's like, so where I was already thinking that it was going from the
Hmm.
first card is definitely where it is that I'm still thinking. So thinking, look at that. I'm thinking. I just clued into that word. So for me is um in so in my past, I have, so like you're talking about generosity. So like my door's always open, people have
Mm,
come and gone. And so right now we have a baby that's been with us since November. And she has and there's just been lots of things. And so like I have there's lots of things in terms of like I'm not sure that this is in terms of safety that we need to like we need to look at this from a different perspective, I think. And so then we actually brought forward a court under protection. So like that's
mm,
something that's done often. But it is done and we're in different countries, so I don't know what the rules are where you guys are, but
right.
where we are in the province that we're in is there is so someone can bring an application forward who is not part of child protective
Mm, hmm.
services, but you can under that. And but prior to that is that we had it's actually um 10, 11 years ago that we actually had another baby that came and
Mm,
stayed with us and then things didn't progress the way that it needed to and we fought then as well in terms of that under that protective piece, but not starting the proceedings. So like we didn't start the proceedings, the child protective services did that. And so it's like these patterns of return and the fact that right in this particular moment um So who we have some heart grandbabies, and so these heart
Hmm.
grandbabies are people that have come into our lives that are that we've owned them, or we've been owned is not the right word, but like they've become part of our family, and so that we have grandbabies that are not our blood babies, they are our heart babies. And so um but 11 years ago, around this same time, um, is that we had Alexis, who is our oldest grandchild, and
Mm.
she's our first heart grandbaby. And she was living here with her mom back then. Her mom and her have like moved in right now temporarily, right now. So it's like this whole repeated thing. So just
Wow.
very interesting,
Yeah.
because when they were living here, that other baby was here as well. And so it's just really interesting that
Mm.
the past card is like kind of representing where things have gone, but come back into where the present is.
Yeah.
And and there's been a lot of caution. There's been a lot of and there's been a lot of thinking. There's been a lot of because in this particular case, the lawyer has been very nasty. Like
Mm.
other
Hmm.
the parents lawyer has been very nasty. And but in terms of generosity, like we do all these extras, we open our door, you need something. But in this particular moment as well, is that things have like because I haven't worked for the most part since November, because we've had this little one. And so um so I've needed to rely on my husband's income, like
Mm.
solely for the most part,
Hmm.
because the little bit that I've had is not like enough in terms of like being able to support us, but it's helped like to like pay this bill or buy this or
Right.
whatever. But it's like not my sustainable, like it's not my sustainable income that I would be typically doing, which is where the course part, like right, so, like my programs have revamped. And very interestingly had happened, like the insight came into play about like, okay, this is what I want to be able to do and how I want to be able to do that, was in the fall, just before Leah came. So it was like,
Mm.
so then I had this insight, and then it was like, okay, so now we have all these things in place, and it's like I have this plan, everything's going well, in terms of like I'm going to be able to like follow through on that. And I haven't had time. I haven't had time to be able to do the different things. And who knows that like at 56, how difficult it is to like try and navigate like getting up in the middle of the night several times, and
Yeah.
like
Yep.
all those crazy things, right? So but it was like, so bringing forth all those things, and then having like all these same patterns of things that have been happening. And so like now it's like, okay, I'm ready to get lot of things launched because things are like more calm, and I'm ready to get things launched. But then as I'm doing that, so we are still in that new moon energy. I know we're doing tarot, but
Hmm.
we're in
Yeah.
that new
Yeah.
moon
But
energy.
listen, it all plays a
It
role.
all ties together. But like, so we're in that new moon energy of, but it's also the solar eclipse at the same
Yeah.
time. And solar eclipse
Yep.
is like, and this particular one, is about releasing and getting rid of like things are just going to drop off, like things that are not supposed to be in the patterns are going to drop off. Um, and this is what we're carrying over for the next year. And so my type A was like, okay, well, I want to be able to start on this date. I want to be able to start on this date. I want to be able to, and like I keep pushing this date because I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, create a new date. I'm going to create a new date. And so um as things are actually have been coming together, it's like I was very adamant that I was like, no, this is going to happen like way like 3 months ago. And like, but things have just not lined up the way that they needed to. Mercury retrograde came in with like tech stuff. And so like now coming through is like um things are actually going to happen. And I can actually foresee the dates of when it is that
Mm. Hmm.
originally my intuition, so like pulling cards and saying, okay, well, this is probably going to happen around this time, and it's actually going to happen around that time, that I'm like, no, I'm not waiting that long. No, I'm not waiting that long. So like, but it's like coming back and like thinking through like um of being able to have these things and having that relationship. I don't know what's going to happen. Like, so I don't know what's
Yeah.
going to So September 22nd is our hearing court date. And I don't know what's going to happen on that day. I have no idea, but I'm trusting the universe is going to make sure that they provide safety for this baby and that
Yeah.
she's like the decisions are going to be made around her being safe. But I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah.
And but a lot of my so when we're talking about the thinking in like the present and this future is that I'm doubting myself a lot of times. I'm having to like question
Mm-hmm.
like this is what it is that's going on, and it's like no, this is like no, I need to still be my authentic self and not worry about like all the things that are being said because I know that they're not truth. And if
Yeah.
the lawyer can convince the judge that they are true, then hey, so be it. Like
Yeah.
that's not my cross to bear.
Mm-hmm.
And but I'm going to continue to be who I am, but my brain still takes over and my anxiety
Yeah.
takes and I worry like I'm very big on like who cares what everybody else thinks, right? So because I've worked through that for a long time and now it's kind of like okay, I'm following that pattern again. I'm worrying
Yep.
about what everybody else thinks and I have to remember that all these things are going to happen, but I love how things are coming in like these like in terms of those synchronicities and those that timing and
Mm-hmm.
how all these things are going on that it's kind of like, huh, really interesting. Really, really
Yep.
interesting. So um
Yeah.
but yeah, so the it really is like it's tying this past, present, and future into something that I've already experienced coming back in
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. Coming back
But
again.
in a different light, in a different perspective. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's really interesting. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I was
So
going to ask Christ May, is there anybody who's had any questions about anything?
Yes, Laura, we do have two. One
Okay.
is from Lisa Doucette. She said, I would love to know what my path looks like the next 4 to 5 months, especially about my business.
Wanting to know about what the past looks like or what the future
Path,
looks like?
path.
Oh, path. Okay. Um, and really, I want to come back to you, but I was like, I know that I want to make space for others too. All right, so we're asking about the path. So I'm going to do a 3 card spread, but instead of doing past, present, future, I'm going to do, oh, hi, we came right out. I'm doing present, path to future, and outcome or future, however you want to look at it. All right, I'm going to sit with this for a second just to see what's kind of coming up. So with your present, you have the lovers in reverse. I'll put it up. And this is the lovers upright, but we're dealing with a reversal. Um, with this card, my eyes were kind of drawn to this like volcano mountain thing that's like between the two people. And when I think of like the lovers, I often think of like there's a sense of relationships and contracts, and especially like it's a major arcana card. You actually have 2 major arcana cards in here. So that speaks to the fact that like right now you're going through a major like life change. That life change is going to continue, and that life change is going to be what sort of like brings you into your outcome or your future. The sense with the lovers, sometimes this has to do with other people. And I'm not saying it doesn't, but the feeling of it feels like it's connected to you. Like your um relationship to yourself or like your commitment to yourself, the lovers can really reflect like choices. Like there's a really big choice that's present in your life, but like there's also an importance of like staying loyal to yourself and like who you truly are, like not wanting to sacrifice who you are in the process of making this choice. Like where the word integrity is coming up. When I think about integrity, I'm thinking of it as it relates to you, just because the energy is like what I'm feeling here, and especially with like the red. I was drawn to the red. Um, Red can represent like royalty. Red can represent something bold. Like there's a sense of you have a choice before you, but you don't want to lose yourself in that process. Um, but there's also like a need to be bold in that. There's like a feeling of boldness in the path. So that's your present. That's there. That's the energy that's coming up right now. The path to the future is a great card. You have Judgment. Um, I'll hold this up a little bit longer. It's upright. So there's two things that kind of come up for me with this card. You have the lower half, which is these people kind of coming out of kind of like coming out of a burial or coming out of a dark grave. It signifies rebirth. The path into where you're going involves a rebirth, but part of that rebirth also includes you like hearing the call. Um, a lot of times, like the way, like sometimes the way in which spirit is trying to communicate to us, we are not always listening to. So I would say like I that's coming up for me, and I don't think that you're resisting it, but this is an encouragement to heed the call. Like if there is something that you are really feeling like a passion towards or a call towards, like don't be afraid of that, because that will also like be a part of your rebirth. Like I said, you have two major arcana cards. You have the Lovers in reverse and you have Rebirth. The Lovers is kind of like that cautionary aspect of don't lose yourself in the big choices that you need to make, but that the Judgment card really speaks to listening to the calling, listening to the passion that is pulling you forward, and allowing yourself to go through a rebirth. You might lose who you have been to some degree, but you won't lose you. You won't lose your essence. Like there might be things that fall off along the way, but you're also going to gain a lot in the process. So your path in the next couple of months are going to be, and also I would even say it extends a little bit beyond that, but I would say that your path is really speaking to a huge rebirth and you like stepping into whatever that calling is for you. The future, the outcome card is the Seven of Cups in reverse. I'll put it upright so you can see what it looks like upright, but then I'll flip it back over. So with this, the thing that comes up for me here is um, like either a decision will be made for you, because it's interesting. Both of these have to do with decisions or choices. The Lovers and Seven of Cups. Um, the Seven of Cups, like a decision is going to be made, and it's either going to be like the universe makes the decision for you, like the things kind of work out in a way that like you have all of these options and you're not sure which one. The universe is going to be like, hey, this is it. It also could be that like something within you shifts. We've talked about a rebirth happening. It could be that as you go through this rebirth, you get clarity on what it is that the path that you specifically need to choose. But with that card, like there is a very clear trajectory of like you reaching a point where you're going to have clarity on what it is that you need to do. Um, Christ May. What else do we have?
Yeah, thank you for that, Laura. So we also have one for Lucian. She wants to have a general reading, but also about her career and her relationship with her sister.
Okay. I'm gonna just do a past, present, future. And we'll see what comes up with that. It's funny. Okay. Gonna sit with this for a second. So I'm gonna just read what's coming up with this. I'll be honest, I don't know what part of this might speak to your sister. But let me see. Let's see what's it's funny because you also have two major arcana cards and you also got judgment. So there's a lot of potential rebirth happening here. I did a past, present, future. So in the past, you have the Four of Pentacles in reverse. I'll flip it upright so that you can see what it looks like upright. But then we'll go back to the reversal because that's what we have. So with this card, the fours often represent stability and structure. Um, with the reversal, and especially like Pentacles has to do, my feeling with it is money. Um, could be connected to the home as well, but there's like there in the past there was instability or a lack of structure with money. But that's in the past. So it's either something that's like leaving or it is something that's in the past. There is a sense that it could have to do with home. So I don't know if if that's part of your relationship with your sister that like there was uh instability with that or like it wasn't quite settled. But there's something in your past that both feels like it has to do with money, but there's also a sense of home involved where it just feels like you didn't have the structure that you needed and you didn't have the stability that you needed. In the present position, you have the Hanged Man in reverse. The Hanged Man is a major arcana card. This is what it looks like upright. Let's see if I can go there. Um, it's in a reversal. Let me sit here I just want to feel what is the reversal of this. I think Sophia just joined us again. All right, let me feel the reversal here. It feels like you're like landing on your feet. I mean, there's a literal aspect of it with, if you look like when he's hanging upside down, and here there's like the literal component of like landing on your feet. That's kind of what it feels like. A lot of times the hangman is like a period of time where, um, you're you feel stuck in a situation or you might have felt stuck in a situation, but it's also something that like you could potentially like have control over or you could have like you could have gotten yourself into that situation and you could get yourself out. With the way that the energy is reading is that like you are in that process of getting yourself out of it. You have been like going through a period that has perhaps required you to develop a different perspective on something. The hangman usually, when we have it in its upright position, it is that period of time where we feel stuck. But part of getting out is like shifting our perspective. So the way that it is, what I feel with it is that you're starting to gain your ground, and you're starting to come out of a period in which things might have been unstable, where there might have been not necessarily insecurity, but like you didn't have solid ground. And so you're starting to find your footing again, but that's also come with you shifting your perspective on things. With the future card, you have judgment. I mean, the sense that comes up with this card is rebirth. I know that came up in the previous reading too, but a lot of times these cards they speak to all of us, and there's very much a sense of rebirth here. Both the Hangman and Judgment, you're going through major life changes, and so the key, like the rebirth is there, and it's something that you're stepping into. But what I'm kind of feeling is like, don't forget what you've learned. Take heed to what you have learned. You know, you spent time in a situation where you really had to reflect and you really had to like shift your perspective on things. And so with this, like as you move into this period of rebirth, don't lose that. Like make sure that you are taking with you what you learned, because that's going to be important with you as you step into a new journey. I don't like for me, I'm not specifically feeling whether this is tied to your work or your sister. Um, but there is definitely a sense of you like gaining new ground and new perspective, which is going to lead you as you step on a new path going forward. Sophia, welcome. You joined us. Chris May, is there anything else that's come up?
Hey Laura, yeah, I
Thank
just
you.
got in,
Oh,
so I just wanted to check to see how you are.
Thank
Um,
you.
but I'm still unpacking, so and I got to jump on the computer. So all good.
All good.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for checking in.
I will. I love readings, but I'll get one next week when I'm all settled.
That sounds perfect. Happy
All
unpacking.
right, good. And Christ may will connect sometime later.
okay, Sophia.
Okay. All right. Laura, if you've got time, only if you've got time, you don't have to, but we always love a reading for the community, for the
Okay.
collective.
Okay.
But if you don't have
Yeah,
time, it's
we'll
not
do
a
it.
problem.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Okay. See you. Bye.
Bye.
Um, we don't have any more questions, Laura, but we have a comment from Lisa. She said, "Thank you so much, Laura. You are spot on."
Awesome. I'm glad that was able to be insightful. Thank you for coming on and asking. I appreciate it. All right, I'm gonna do trying to think of what do a reading for the community, but I want to think about I want to do the present path to the future and into the future. I feel that instead of doing like a past, present, future. Actually, you know what I want to do? I'm going to do a mind, body, spirit, because I think that'll be very interesting. Hmm. Interesting. Okay, gonna have to think about that one. So this is for the community, and I did a mind, body, spirit. It's kind of interesting because the way these cards are presenting are like not in the way that you would think that they would present. So I'm gonna just like sit with it for a second. Um, for the mind, we got the Empress. And it's interesting because the Empress really is about kind of like this connection to creativity and nurturing, but also Mother Earth. And so for this showing up with the mind, I think it's kind of like interesting because I often think about this card in terms of it being rooted in the body. And so I feel like with that, like in terms of the collective and what this space is creating, um, I kind of feel like there is an aspect of like where are our thoughts going and like are they rooted? You know, sometimes we can be very lofty with our thoughts and we can be very disconnected, but the Empress kind of speaks to this connection with the earth, but also this ability to create and to be connected to abundance. And so there is this sense of like abundant thought. Like we have a lot that is available to us in our ability to think and in our beliefs. But I've kind of find like the Empress is very beautiful and it represents this beautiful energy. And so I think it kind of speaks to the beauty of like our minds coming together and like what we can create with that. Mind, body. So the body, um, we have the Hermit in reverse. I'll flip it over just to see the upright, but we are speaking of it in terms of it being reversed. Um, it really kind of speaks to being in community, which makes sense. I know that there's also the event, Christ May, isn't there's a event that's actually coming up for where people can gather in community. What's the event called?
It's the Gathering of Becoming. It's for
Yes.
International Women's Day for next year.
Okay, that's right. So yeah, the hermit often speaks to going inward and spending time alone. And with this being in reversal, it really, especially with the body, it talks about like coming together in a gathering and coming together with others. I often think about the fact that like there's important healing that we can do by ourselves and like in our own time, but there's also really important healing to do and connecting in a group and in a with other people. And so I think that this card really this it speaks to the fact that this space is creating a way for us to connect with each other and that we can be active in it. There's the event that's upcoming, so like there's a literal way for us to gather in community, but also we're still able to gather on here. And so it speaks to both just that importance of like gathering in community and like uh, thinking about healing. I also go back to creativity because we had the Empress with the mind. And so there's this feeling of like as we bring our thoughts together, we also bring ourselves together. And that's kind of we can do really powerful things with that. Spirit's a tricky one. I'm gonna have to sit with this one for a second. So we have the Nine of Cups, but it's in reversal. That showed up earlier, I think, for Christ May. Um, we're talking about spirit. Um, I'm gonna sit with this for a second. It's interesting because there is the Nine of Cups can speak to like some people will refer to it as like a wish card or like it can be about fulfillment, it can be about contentment, having what you need, especially emotionally or in relationships. And so with the reversal, it's often figuring out what that reversal is speaking to. But I kind of feel like, especially with spirit, it's asking us to slow down. There's like if it's in reverse, and it's funny because water is definitely not as fast as like fire and swords, but it's not as slow as pentacles. So there's already an element to it that like is can be slower. But water is also represents like our intuition and being able to go deep. And so with this reversal, it feels like in terms of our spiritual connection and wealth, like thinking of prosperity, but thinking of wealth and prosperity and in an emotional sense, not necessarily in terms of money, but like our ability to connect with each other. There's this almost like this call to slow down and to really get intentional, but also listen. Listening within ourselves, like how are we moving in a spiritual space together? We have the energy of the Empress, which is really important. We're being called to gather in community, but also we don't need to rush through that. Like there is a very sacred and spiritual connection. And sometimes like we need to slow down a little bit to feel that. So that's kind of what's coming up with me here. Did we lose Rolly? Christ, May, you got anything else on your end?
Um, Lucy Yan just sent us a message. She said, "Perfect. Thanks a lot, Laura. The past is the loss of home and dollars from divorce. Now
Mm.
my life, career, and lots of lessons learned. And then the future is a new me, and sticking to what I think it's right, which my sister doesn't have the ability to see."
Ah, that's really important. And that's a hard thing. Um, sometimes when we have to make the decisions that are right for us and we don't have the support, especially from the people around us, that can be really hard. So that's very powerful for you to continue to make that choice for yourself. And I think that power is going to speak to that rebirth that happens for you. Um, Anything else?
I think that's all.
Okay.
Let me just check one more time if there's anyone, and I think we're also uh at the end of the
The time.
time for yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's
All
all
right.
now.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate everyone who came on and Rolly for talking and Christ May for you being here. And we'll be back for Tarot Talk next week.